breakfast in the bed and breakfast. Old Bridge with a fresh coffee. Good morning from the bed and breakfast. It's 9:30 and this is the view from the terrace. Going up to the Tatev monastery. This is the region bordering Iran, and this is a Iranian truck with Persian letters. Now we're in the southernmost part of Armenia. Lots of grasslands, open land, perfect for horses and sheep. And lots of trucks. There's only one highway going in between those mountains, which is Azerbaijan, the peak, and those mountains, which is again Azerbaijan. And so this is the only road going down to Iran. So lots of trucks heading north and heading south. Do you think it's a reservoir? I think it's a natural lake. Exploited.
You know what that is, probably?
Turf? Yeah, it could be turf that they're using. This never-ending straight road. This is the first and only area in Armenia with no curves because there's no hills all the time.
В 2010 году крылья Таtev были занесены в Книгу рекордов Гиннесса.
Welcome on board the Wings of Tatev, recorded in the Guinness Book of Records as the longest reversible tramway in the world.
So we're now in the south at the Tatev monastery, which used to be a university in the 14th century, and it's fortified, and we came in on that cable car. So let's check it out. on every church, all the rocks are always carved with crosses everywhere, different types of crosses, as you can see. And here, writing all across the wall, more crosses. So we picked up Amanyan, Amayak, and we're heading up. We're not really sure where he needs to go, but he comes from Goris. Goris. And we just visited the Tatev monastery, and now we're heading back to the hotel in Yerevan. Yerevan, yeah. How do you like driving here, Steindl?
It's quite okay, I have to say. The car could be a bit more modern and could have amenities such as radio, but other than that, the driving is
Yeah, and it doesn't honk.
yeah.
No radio, no honking.
No water.
Just people enjoying themselves and their lives like in the good old days, with beautiful rocky formations, stuck behind a caravan of trucks.
You are at one of the smallest wineries in Armenia now. Small family business, estate founded back in 1998 when we planted our first vineyard. We have approximately 5 hectares of vineyard with small parties in here and main parties in village called RP. Annually we produce approximately 20,000 bottles of wine, which 10,000 of the red wine.
So for people wondering why the Old Bridge Winery is called the Old Bridge Winery, we just did a 30-minute hike and we found the old bridge, which is a very old bridge, which doesn't seem to be used anymore. And overlooks this river here on that side, with a nice view on the other side as well. And there's actually a farm over here. Very nice farm. Very great view. Again, more beautiful sunsets here. Really beautiful. Arriving in Jermuk. Oopsies. This town is a spa town. Used to be one of the top Soviet spa / medical tourism locations. And it's very near the Azerbaijani border. So actually it was being bombed in 2022, and I don't have it on camera, but we just passed the first building that looks like it's been shelled. And let's see what we see in the city. So we're now at the city of Jermuk, which used to be a #1 spa town of the Soviet Union. And so what we got ourselves is a great Soviet hotel. Let's check it out. It's almost alpine here. This is the gallery of water in Jermuk. Have a nice... Also the most famous water brand in Armenia is called Jermuk. So this is really the source of a really good source of water. That water is crystal clear, as you can see. And it is also the location of all of these spas, of these ancient sanatoriums. So what I didn't show earlier, but in this gallery of water, they have multiple of these fountains, each of them hotter than the last. And this one is 53 degrees. And it goes all the way to 30 degrees at the beginning. And people are actually drinking this, so I guess it must have some healing properties because they have these cups that you can get and try out. So we're now walking around this lake of Jermuk in this nice path, very nice path. And one of the things you'll notice here is quite a few abandoned buildings. There's two reasons for that. One reason is that the population fell from 9,000 plus to less than 4,000 since the Soviet Union time, right? So since they didn't have the tourism industry anymore that the Soviet Union was bringing. And the second reason is because this is right at the border with Azerbaijan. And in 2022, during the last war, the Azerbaijanis actually bombed Jermuk quite a lot. So according to Wikipedia, there's quite a few buildings that are damaged. So one fun thing to do, I guess, in ex-Soviet states is to look at these, what used to be Old Glory. So you have to imagine this hotel was probably, back in the day, one of the best hotels in the Soviet Union, maybe top in the world. And just like our hotel now has this little lake with little I guess pedal boats. You know, you see this ancient location, and you just can't help but imagine how busy it must have been, right? This was really the place to come, the spa town. And now it has these massive old ruins. One of the cool things, by the way, of our hotel, and all hotels here as far as I understand, is that you can, for the price that you pay, you get included a visit to the doctor of the hotel who will basically evaluate your health and sort of say what type of treatments would be good for you. This would have been the entrance. We have to watch our step because it's filled with glass. But this looks amazing, actually. Wow. You would have come here with these circular staircases and this construction work there. I have to watch my step, so sorry if the camera isn't good, but that was something. It's completely stripped down. Another example of a pretty much abandoned hotel. Some parts are still in use though. It looks like the right side might still be maintained. Look at that. That is a real old school mural. You have the water of Jermuk healing the person. So we're on the bridge overlooking the river. And from here you can see all the various sanatoriums, including this one, which also seems to be abandoned, judging by the observation deck. Must have been a beautiful sanatorium, and lots more sanatoriums there. But they're building a new one there. And if we look to the other side, we can see all the others. So this is where we just came from. These look like apartments actually, but that looks like a sanatorium. Those over there, the pink one there, the pink one, which is a pretty new one, is also our sanatorium. That's where we're staying. And you see a bunch more of these hotels slash sanatoriums everywhere. Very nice Soviet sanatorium again. Health spa Ararat.
Look at her cleaning the...
Oh wow, that would be illegal in Europe. But they take cleanliness very seriously here. So we're gonna check out the inside of another one of these legit Soviet time sanatoriums. What I think is unique here is they all have these wings on the right and the left. They all have the same design. This one isn't even written in English, so you wouldn't even know. Monument to the October Revolution. So this is something you come across quite often in Armenia, and what they do is they often paint a picture of the soldiers who fell in the recent war, multiple wars, and presumably ones that lived in the blocks where the paintings are. This is something we also saw in Yerevan, and something you see pretty much everywhere. This is the central square area of Jermuk, the old playground, the back side of all the buildings. It's definitely a very calm town. So one thing we keep noticing is that everyone here just builds a balcony if they feel like it, or you know, and they can build it however they want, and some of them even expand their houses completely. For example, there we noticed this entire structure on the left should have been looking like this, the right side. It's completely new and looks completely different now. So everyone can just sort of build how they want. So reintroducing our hotel, clearly it's a new one or newer one, not from the Soviet times, I would say. The room is actually really nice. Yeah, it's nice, and here it's built in the same style that the other old Soviet hotels are built in. So this is what our room looks like here. You got your bathrobes, very new bathroom, toilet, no butt gun, but some places in Armenia have butt guns. And this is the room, 2 beds. And you can pause the video if you want to look at the prices, but essentially it's 30 euros approximately for example, for an oil massage. Yeah. We just finished a doctor's consultation, and he prescribed hydroreflexotherapy, circular shower, paraffin therapy, and salt room therapy. And Steindl has started doing his reflexology therapy for 7 minutes. And I'm waiting to be able to do the circular shower. Nice restaurant by the river with outdoor seating. And we got this massive table for ourselves. So we're having some river trout. This is fried river trout in this restaurant, which I don't remember the name of right now. But these are tiny, tiny river trout, as you can see. We ordered half a kilo, 250 grams of fried and 250 grams of steamed. And we just had a good Greek salad. Everything vegetable here is great. As Steinl grabs his last fish, first review of these tiny river trout is that they are excellent. They are much better than the fish we had at Lake Yerevan. And now we're having the other half, which are steamed river trout. And so let's see. Because we were actually just discussing that in Lake Yerevan, we had so many different fishes. We had like a fish mix, but they were all cooked exactly the same way with the same red spice that they all tasted somewhat the same. And here, I cannot imagine that we will have the similar taste. And if the fried one was good, I can imagine that the steamed one might be even better. So we just finished eating at that fish restaurant down by the river. And so we bought a lemonade. I bought a lemonade, an Armenian lemonade. Steinl bought Coke. We had a lot of bread. We had a salad, a Greek salad as a starter. And did we have another starter or something? No. And then we had half a kilo of fish, of which we decided to do half fried and half steamed. Those were excellent. I mean, those were amazing. And you have to imagine how much we paid for all of what I just listed. It was 18 euros. Yeah?
Good deal.
18 euros for all of that. And on top of that, was absolutely excellent. So when we passed by the restaurant, because we're on the way back, we were exploring a bit again, and we're trying to check out one of these abandoned hotels. Didn't manage to get in. A worker chased us off. But once we pass, I'm gonna film the name of the restaurant in case you're interested in going. So when you're coming up the road in Jermuk, at the end of the road, there's a Bagabert restaurant, which goes down these steps and then by the river there, or if you want to eat inside, you can eat inside. Really recommend it. Bagabert. Jogging in Jermuk to the abandoned neighborhoods. Bombed out building in Jermuk City. Heading down for the last time from the Armenian highlands into the desert regions and then back to Yerevan. So we're now on our last day in Armenia. We're flying tomorrow morning at 4 a.m. We're driving back down to Yerevan, but we decided to do a lunch stop in Areni, the village where the Areni grape comes from, which is the most famous grape in Armenia. And I thought it would be interesting to do a quick review about Jermuk. I think Jermuk is highly recommendable. I mean, I would definitely recommend going there. It's an interesting Soviet style sanatorium town because it has the nice fresh springs and hot springs. I would recommend our hotel. I would also recommend going to an even older real Soviet hotel And I think it's interesting that they still have this old school, you know, you go on a doctor's appointment and then you have to do a bunch of like a little quest of various things, like walking on stones and the circle shower that you saw. And then they also did this paraffin therapy where they put paraffin on our backs to heal us. We didn't manage to do the salt room due to time constraints. Having said all of that, so very nice town, very calm. Having said all of that, the food at the hotel was by far the worst food we've had in Armenia, which is a country with really good food. So we were quite shocked when we tried the food. I had a beef stroganoff, and Steinl had a sandwich. I mean, it's hard to make a sandwich badly. It was okay, but the beef stroganoff was horrible, sort of. I mean, it was edible, but it wasn't good.
Didn't look like beef stroganoff.
No, and then today we looked at the breakfast that was included within our hotel, and it looked so horrible that we skipped it. We just had a coffee and we went for the run. And instead, I would recommend going to the actual restaurants outside the hotels, like the one we went to yesterday evening, and try the fresh fish, because there's fresh river trout in the whole region, and the fish is actually very good and very, very good pricing. So we're now eating some type of lamb stew, an Armenian lamb stew, which is called lamb kashlama, right? And we just had some pickled vegetables. And we have our bread here and 1 liter of homemade juice. Coming back down onto the lowlands, and we see these military positions up there of Azeris and Azerbaijanis looking at each other from hundreds of meters away. So that, on the other side of that hill, is Azerbaijan, and here is Armenia.
From one barrel, from one spirit, it is impossible to make brandy. You need to blend with 3 spirits. And Ararat is a modern brandy, which back a little bit of the chocolate again and thick brandy. We will explore smooth taste of this. And Aftamar is our emotional brandy. All cultural events are sponsored by.
We're in the restaurant Zaytuna. It's a Lebanese restaurant. Where last evening we decided to go for Lebanese since there's a large Armenian community in Lebanon, so the food should be really good. Hummus, bread. We ordered some za'atar bread as well, and then we'll go for mains. And now we're having some za'atar, which was our daily consumption when visiting Lebanon. So curious how a Armenian za'atar tastes like. And the last dish in Armenia, we have this Arabian kebab, or I don't know what it was called anymore because we don't have the menu.
Shawarma.
Arabi shawarma. And this was, Steinl, did you pick
Shish
this one?
kebab.
Shish kavuk. There we go. Okay, so we're gonna do a post-Armenia review. It's 10 p.m. and we have our flight heading out at 4 a.m. So we actually need to leave the hotel at 1 a.m. And so I thought it would make sense to do a short review of Armenia. Steinlino, how does Armenia compare to your expectations versus reality?
Well, first of all, I did not have a lot of expectations about Armenia. I was quite, I didn't really know what was coming for us. But I have to say, I am very positively surprised, especially about the food. The people were all very friendly, except the policeman who thought we were Russian in the first 2 days. That was quite uncomfortable, but besides that, only positive experiences. And also the landscape's been very diverse. Having the big city, which is very hot, then all the desert looking areas and the wine region, and also this grasslands on top of the mountains going to the south. It's been all very impressive, and it's also been interesting and also a bit frightening to see, you know, all the military positions and the dam next to the highway to protect the cars from shooting. So you could actually see that there are a lot of things going on, and it's a very difficult situation for a country to be in. But overall, I would definitely recommend anyone to come here and check it out.
Yeah, so my opinion doesn't differ too much from Steindalino's. I agree on all points. I have to say that I've been to Georgia last year, and I know that the Armenians don't like Armenia to be compared with Georgia, but essentially I had expectations after Georgia, but the expectations were surpassed on every level. I would say that Yerevan was much better than I expected, and the landscape was beautiful, very vastly different than I expected. You go from steppe, highland, Mongolia looking landscape all the way to desert / Morocco oasis style landscape, and my preferred region was actually the south. So this Areni to Yegnejador, I'm probably not pronouncing that correctly. This whole wine region, the oasis deserty area was probably my highlight of the country. And as Steindl mentioned, this political situation of Armenia is very tenuous, but it's also quite interesting for someone coming from Europe or from another country. You know, you come here and you really notice that this is a country surrounded, essentially. So 80% of the borders of Armenia are closed, yeah? And literally you have gun emplacements as you're driving. You see the what do you call it? The fortifications of Azerbaijani military looking down on the Armenian highways, and likewise the Armenian positions looking down on the Azeri territories. Right, because it's still an active conflict. I mean, two years ago, since the Ukrainian war started with Russia, right? Russia invaded Ukraine. Azerbaijan took over a large part of what Armenia had in the Nagorno-Karabakh region since the 90s, right? And is even encroaching on Armenian territory. So the conflict is still very much alive here, and everyone that we talk to is talking about it, right? Every taxi driver. We met so many people who were ex-military. It's insane. Like,
You don't want to take it back.
yeah, like every single person.
Says it's temporary loss.
Yeah, and they all were somehow involved in the war, right? Our waiters were on the front lines. Our taxi drivers were on the front lines. So many of them are actually coming from Eastern Turkey, right? Where like we had one taxi driver who was an orphan, what they call Western Armenians in Eastern Turkey. I mean, it's a highly political topic, right? But it makes it very interesting to come to such a country and talk to the people. We're all very friendly. And it's still very real, something which in Europe, I suppose, thankfully has not been a topic. I mean, we've all accepted the borders to be as they are, but here borders seem to be more fluid. You know, if you say, hey, this region used to be mine 400 years ago, it's cause to invade, you know, and that's sad. But it seems to be a reality around here that this country is surrounded, and sadly it doesn't have much support, right? But a very lovely country, great food.
And another fact is, it's again raining outside, and it has rained every single day since we're here.
Right, that's something we didn't expect. We thought it would be very dry, right? When we landed here, the first day was like 35 degrees, insanely warm. It's July right now. But it's crazy. It rains every day. Even for maybe like 1 minute, it rains. Yeah, and you would not expect that in this part, let's say Europe/Middle East, right? Because that's also a topic of contention. But in some parts we were as deep as Iran, right? I mean, so it's arguable that you would expect somehow that it would be a lot drier. But no, it rains, or it rained almost every single day. Yeah. But recommendation, come to Armenia, come visit. The people are very friendly. The food is absolutely amazing. Yeah, the wine is also amazing, undervalued, and we're pretty sure it's going to be big quite soon once they manage to develop into the European and American export markets. So far, there are slightly more, let's say, there used to be a USSR, so ex-Soviet states export market, but that's changing with time now. Now they're sort of looking towards new markets, right? So we noticed that as well. The whole wine region, lots of Europeans in the wine region, you know, Belgians, Dutch, French, you know, lots of people coming here to visit for the wine. Yeah. So that's it. We're closing this off. Maybe another video while at the airport, but maybe not. And yeah, great time in Armenia.
Thanks for following us.
Ciao, ciao.